Hello, this is Anuja Matthew. It's December 6th, 2020. Today I thought it would be interesting to review why so many people who've had COVID lose their sense of smell. There are two terms, anosmia and parosmia, when trying to define loss of smell. Approximately 80% of people with COVID experience anosmia, and anosmia is a temporary loss of smell. So people having acute COVID lose smell for a few days or for up to a week, and then they slowly recover. Approximately 10 to 20% of people with COVID experience a much longer loss for up to weeks or even months. And when the smell returns, however, people find that their favorite foods or familiar scents are quite different than what they had experienced before, and also their body odors have changed. Parosmia is the condition when you have long-term loss of smell, and it's supposed to be mixed up signals between neurons, especially the olfactory sensory neurons. These are nerve cells that are located in the nasal cavity that detect scents, and also the part of the brain where odors are decoded and interpreted. There are two possible theories for the loss of smell. One is the virus directly kills off olfactory sensory neurons in the olfactory bulb. The second is the virus indirectly impacts support cells, and these support cells then either secrete substances that impact the olfactory neurons in the olfactory bulb. What I'd like to discuss today is a paper that came out in Science over the summer, and a review article by the Wall Street Journal on this paper, which suggests one of the two options. So this study looked at the expression of ACE2, which is the receptor for SARS-CoV-2, in neuronal and non-neuronal cells. So it's quite reasonable to look for the expression for the receptor on neuronal cells if the virus is able to directly attach to neuronal cells, infect them, and destroy the olfactory sensory neuronal cells. So the main findings really were they failed to detect ACE2 expression in mature olfactory sensory neurons at either the transcript or protein level. So this suggests or strongly suggests that the virus does not directly infect neuronal cells. This study was done in mice. However, in their discussion, they talk about other studies that support their findings. So ACE2 protein expression in the human brain is predominantly or exclusively expressed in the vasculature, so the cells that carry blood to and fro the brain, and it's not found in neuronal cells. Human cerebrospinal cell fluid samples have thus far failed to reveal strong or high levels of SARS-CoV-2 RNA, suggesting further that the virus does not typically get into the brain. Autopsy studies have also found that the brain contains low levels of SARS-CoV-2 across the organs. While further studies need to be done, the data suggests that it's likely that SARS-CoV-2 does not directly infect the olfactory sensory neurons. I would like to go over three figures from the Wall Street Journal review of this article, which nicely hypothesizes what might be happening and why you lose your sense of smell. So the virus enters the nasal cavity. It actually infects the support cells, which are called the sustentacular cells. And these sustentacular cells provide structural support for the nearby nerve cells. Typically, nerve cells transmit signals to the olfactory bulb, and the olfactory bulb then sends signals to the brain. The brain processes and identifies these signals and recodes and sends back signals that identify smell. So damages to the pathway anywhere along this tract can explain the loss of smell among COVID-19 patients. So what the study found was, rather than the nerve cells being directly damaged, it's these support cells, which are these sustentacular cells, that get infected, and they then generate cytokines or release cytokines and cause inflammation. The inflammation can directly impact the nerve cells and possibly kill them. So it's not like the virus is directly impacting the nerve cells or infecting the nerve cells. It's the inflammation from the support cells that most likely damage the nerve cells, and this loss or this damage to these nerve cells because of the inflammation then impact or impede the signals that are sent to the olfactory bulb, and that's why you have this sense of loss which can be temporary or can be long term. So the fact that some people just have a loss for a few days might be explained by the fact that the inflammation only lasts a few days, and once the inflammation is gone, the recoding or these olfactory sensory neurons tend to be more normal because the immune system now doesn't have as much of an inflammatory response to damage the signals that are sent across to the brain. Damaged nerve cells can regenerate, but the regeneration can be faulty. So you could have faulty wiring. So the inflammation can cause you to lose your nerve connections, and those nerve connections might take a while to regenerate. If they regenerate, maybe they don't connect properly, and this faulty wiring or this faulty repair trial and error mechanism that occurs to re-establish the proper connections may take months. And that is a possible explanation why people have parosmia that lasts several months. And in many cases, reports of people having this distorted smell. So if they look at something that they typically, or they smell something that they're typically used to, say like an orange or something, instead it smells to them like decaying flesh or burnt chicken or uncooked chicken or something that's bad, rather than that what they typically experience with smell, which is something good. Scientists believe that parosmia is this trial and error process where new olfactory neurons are coming up and they're trying to reconnect, but they're reconnecting sometimes in a faulty manner, and where smells are processed and being interpreted. The interpretation or development of smell is highly complex, and there are approximately 350 types of receptors related to interpreting odors. So you can imagine if one or two of those connections gets wired incorrectly, it might take a while before you develop the right sense of smell. So it's very unfortunate for people who sense and have lost their sense of smell long term and taste. It doesn't only occur with SARS-CoV-2, it has been noted with other viral infections, but it appears to be that a number of people who've had SARS-CoV-2 have this temporary and in some cases a long-term sense of smell. So I'd like to end there. I hope you've learned a fair bit. I'm an immunologist and not a neuronal biologist, but I found this very interesting and hope you've learned something new. Thanks again.